Thanks, Natasha. So, yeah, my name's Andrew. I currently work for Kellogg's. Well, no, don't. Sorry, Kellanova. Old habits die hard. I knew I was going to do that. So within my role, I'm the senior recruiter. I head up the commercial space for our recruitment in UK, Ireland, Benelux, and also support part of France as well. I've been in recruitment now for 10 years. So I started it when I was 16, because I'm definitely still 26. And I absolutely love recruitment. I think if you do recruitment well and you do it right, it's an absolute privilege. To do it for a brand like Kellanova, it's brilliant doing it for a company that so many people know, and they do things, in my opinion, from a recruitment, from a people, from a perspective, right way. I also think recruitment is a brilliant industry to be in, because it brings you to events like this where you get to learn different trends and share stages with colleagues alike. So from that, I'm going to pass over to...
Well, I was going to ask you, can you very briefly, we had a intro call just to kind of cover off today's session. I joined it, and after 10 minutes, I then knew exactly everything about Kellogg's and Kellanova and everything else. So in 30 seconds, Kellanova is...
Right, 30 seconds. My boss is here as well, so I don't know if I'm going to nail it in 30 seconds. So Kellanova is still Kellogg's. It's the brands that we love. We're an American-founded company. What we wanted to become, though, was a snack-led business. So over in the US, they separated the cereal business and made WK Kellogg. We have then become Kellanova. Gemma's nodding, so I'm on the right track.
Yep.
Which means now we're a snack-led business. So that is amazing for Europe, because it means we still get to drive our fantastic brands like Pringles, the products that we're still very, very passionate about, your cereals, but we're also getting all the snacking brands that are in the US. So for any of you that have been out there and had products such as Cheez-It or Eggo, they will be coming to retailers very, very soon. And that's Kellanova in a nutshell.
Brilliant, thank you. Excellent. So obviously, Andrew would have had some of those brand challenges as you go through those kind of acquisitions and sort of brand challenges. So Helen, over to you.
I first of all just wanted Andrew to bring some Cocoa Pops, which he hasn't done, so I'm very, very upset with that. My name's Helen Stokes. I am a lead RBP at the Cooperative Bank based here in Manchester. I've been at the bank for about 8 years, doing a number of roles. I've been in recruitment a little bit longer than Andrew. It's 20 years plus, actually, I worked out when we were talking, which makes me feel really old on this panel. I've worked for a variety of blue chip companies. I've been the last 8 years at the bank. And again, like Andrew, I absolutely love anything recruitment-led, people-led. I am a very passionate, energetic recruiter. Apart from I feel a bit less passionate and energetic next to Andrew, but I lead with my candidate experience has always been the forefront of my mind. The last couple of years, the main challenges I've had is I've moved from kind of a specialist recruitment, so recruiting for audit and tax and finance and all those very staid roles, into a high volume, very demanding, challenging stakeholder role. Some of my lovely team are here. How they've survived, I don't know. But yeah, it's been a great role, lots of challenges along the way, very solution orientated with zero budget. So that's kind of why I'm on this panel. Thank you.
We've got lots of clapping today. Alex, over to you.
Hi everyone, Alex Kelly. I am the head of talent acquisition for HMRC. Please don't boo or ask me anything to do with tax, because I do not know. Been in recruitment for some time. I think as a panel we had a think the other day, and it's about 70 years experience between us. Absolutely love recruitment. I've done it since I was 20. And I think for me, joining HMRC, one of our biggest challenges has been our branding. Everyone knows who we are, which is great. Who wants to come work for us is a different story, thinking that you're going to get booed everywhere you go. But a really exciting organisation, which I've been really surprised with when I've joined and when I've seen that. So there is a branding out there now, not the taxman you're expecting. And we're trying to change that view of people for us as an organisation with what we do.
Excellent. And Gemma, last but not least.
Thank you. So I don't know how to follow that, actually. I am Gemma Cuff from Sintra. I have a giant head, it seems. So it's all I can think about. Sintra, no one will have heard of. We are a really small company, so I'm kind of the odd one out, I guess, on this stage. We're about 250 people. We are actually a multi-cloud database architecture company, which I know is very fascinating. So I've been in recruitment about 21 years. So I think Helen and I kind of are the oldest, most experienced on the panel.
Experienced,
Experienced, yes. I've kind of worked for some really big corporates and for some tiny companies like Sintra. So a lot of my challenges around actually building recruitment teams and ATSs, all of that kind of stuff in the implementation. But I love being at these places because I think you can get quite jaded. And then I sit and listen to these guys and how passionate they are and how passionate everybody else is here. It kind of reminds me that it's a pretty cool job, actually.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Gemma. I think you give Gemma a round of applause as well. So, as I mentioned, we've got a couple of just set questions, just to kind of go into a little bit more detail around talent trends that our panelists have been experiencing. Then we're going to open it up onto Q&A. So feel free, as we are asking these questions, to start typing your questions to the panelists. And we're going to get stuck into the initial questions that we have. So obviously it's been a turbulent time, is probably the best way of describing it in TA over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. It would be great to understand just some of the biggest shifts or trends that you've seen in the last 6 to 12 months and where you've had to adapt. Alex, I'm going to come to you first because I think you started in our discussion before. So what are some of the biggest things that you've actually seen in the last 6 to 12 months?
So I think some big ones for us, and I think quite a lot of people have felt this, is we're getting a lot of applications, but the quality just isn't the same from what we've seen before. I think some of this may partly be down to AI. I know there's tools out there now that are just letting people apply for roles and send your CV off to so many places. So I think the role of our TA teams is getting a lot harder to sift through and to look for that real talent. And I think for us, I'm really interested in being part of the civil service, that salary's never been a real benefit for us in terms of coming to work for us. But people are a lot more open now to conversations around what it means for them, what it means for their families, what are the other benefits of working there. And I think for us, that's been a real massive selling point where we can actually think more about that holistic picture for people's careers.
Dovetail on the back of what Alex has said around benefits. So in FMCG, for those of you who are in it or recruiting it, it's not the biggest payer. It's a brilliant industry. And where I've really found the last 6 to 12 months is that I've always done commercial recruitment. I think that's why I've got a receding hairline. And normally before COVID, and particularly in the last sort of 2 years after it, it was always, what am I going to earn and how am I going to earn it? And every conversation, I hated it, was driven by money. But a lot more now are asking me, Andrew, help me understand the bigger package within Kellanova. So, for example, summer hours that we have, what's your flexible working like, and how accessible is that? What's your pension contribution? It's not like HMRC, but it's very, very competitive for a private company. And you can really see when you're talking to candidates at that offer stage that they're really trying to make the whole package fit for them. And I think that's why for us as a business, we are really making sure that we're investing in our benefits that are, you can't pay your mortgage with a great pension and a brilliant culture, but by God, it helps. If you are getting a good pension, you can do the school run. You're finishing at 12 o'clock on a Friday and it's getting welcomed by the director to say what you're doing with your Friday afternoon. So that for me is a trend that I think is only going to get bigger as we can't keep up with the rate of inflation and salary. So we need to be able to be in a position where we can offer candidates attractive packages that are more than just a commercial.
Yeah.
I think the Cooperative Bank have never been huge payers. We've never had the commerciality to offer that. We've always had to rely on our ethics, our values, to align with the people that we're wanting to recruit. And I think that more than ever. So we were kind of on the front foot of that. We would veer away from the salaries and try and bring people in or hook people in on those values. And I think, again, ESG, sustainability, all those kind of things, some candidates will, I think I read somewhere that 1 in 4 candidates would consider moving to a company that had better sustainability, zero emissions, and trying to do all those things. So I think, the team focus our marketing on more about the bank being a good ESG rated bank, a good place to work, a good employer. And that sometimes comes out in when the people's reasons for leaving are not salary where it used to be. They are focused more on the whole package, the employer, definitely.
Just to add to that as well, I think a lot of that is because we're now recruiting for so many different generations, right? So, people who are older are looking maybe for salary, pension, those kind of things. But actually that's really changed. So people are looking at kind of more than just money, more than necessarily a career as well. I was reading a stat the other day that a lot of Gen Zers will leave every company after 12 months because they will get a 20% pay increase by doing so, but they're not going to get that if they stay in one company. So I think the benefits, the ERGs, all of that kind of stuff has become much more prevalent with different generations, and Gen Z hiring is now a really big trend.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're definitely about the sustainability and everything else as well. So we're going to move on to sort of future looking. So if you could have a crystal ball, if you were able to see into the future, what do you think are going to be some of the top trends for the rest of this year? So in the next sort of 6 to 12 months, and it might be something that has started to creep its head already. It might be something that's just starting to come out. So happy, but yeah.
I think that AI is going to have to change the way that the recruiters, way companies look to bring people in. So more strength-based questioning, more personalised, to stop the people getting round your hiring process. I think talent teams are going to have to really look at how they are engaging with that community, whether it's they're encouraging the use of AI in certain areas, in other areas, trying to combat so that you're not putting people in place that are the wrong people. I think that's the biggest worry for me, is that we're going to be recruiting in the wrong way and we're going to get hoodwinked into getting candidates who are then ultimately not going to be the right fit for us or for them. And then they leave, they have a bad candidate experience. I think it all comes back to candidate experience as well as commerciality. We need to get the right people in at the right time, and AI can help us do that, but we need to future-proof our teams.
Is anyone use it? Go on, Alex, go on.
Siobhan, who's here, supports us from an AI perspective. She's doing a talk in a bit. There's a plug. Go and see Siobhan. We are using AI. We're looking at how we can do that in different ways and trying to lead on that in terms of our application process, how we help the business, how we support. I think where I was going to come in, and I think future for me is, if you've not got your data right yet, make sure you do. And I think there's so many parts to that, because, and I was listening to one of the talks earlier and said that senior leaders are incompetent. I think was one of the views on that, of actually that story you tell with data, how you bring that to life. We will face challenges as TA teams. I think there's a team, hiring stops, teams shrink, teams grow. We've been in recruitment long enough to see that happen. But having the data there to back up what you do, why you're doing it, how you're supporting the business is really important, because you can then drive some really good and big decisions based off the back of that. So I think that would be one thing for me, is if your data isn't right yet, should be your number one priority and focus.
I'm going to take it away from AI. So anyone who likes me that doesn't want to talk about AI, this answer's for you. So what I've noticed, and long may it continue, is people applying or open to conversations where the obvious skill fit isn't there. So, for example, we're an FMCG business, you know what we sell. We have a lot of managers who, and I understand it, someone leaves, and the easy thing to do is to replace them with a like for like. So your glass bottle breaks, Andrew, get me another glass bottle. But the talent pool is so competitive that what I've noticed is candidates are doing it, is they're applying for roles where there's not the obvious fit. And we're going through a journey, and we're working with the hiring managers to help them understand that will over skill, and then also skill-based recruitment. So looking at the job description and saying, right, you want a national account manager to look after Tesco, it's a £5 million account for argument's sake. What skill sets are you looking for? Okay, so someone from Adidas who looks after, the JD Sports account, it's a like-for-like spend. All right, the price point's a little bit different, but what's making them good at their job is the promotions, the commerciality, the ability to build rapport. That's exactly what we look for in Kellanova in every single recruit. So we're broadening. We're not just looking for people that have sold a food-based product. We're now looking broader and broader. And I'm seeing that on applications. We're not an application-heavy business at the moment because we're going through a bit of an identity crisis. But the conversations I'm having and the applications that are coming through are actually some great candidates in there. if you and the hiring managers work together to actually really unearth what is it that we want, but where can we get that from? And I think it makes for me a bit more of an exciting process as well. There's nothing better than putting someone through a process who maybe didn't feel that they were an exact fit, but once you actually both started talking, you could clearly see they're going to be great for this business.
Yeah.
I actually did the interactive CV workshop with Willow. It was brilliant, by the way, earlier. And that was all about kind of, looking for the skills, and CVs are dead, which is really interesting. I'm going to take it somewhere else away from AI as well. Two things I'm kind of quite passionate about. Mainly one of them is flexibility and transparency. So we all talk about kind of compressed hours and those types of things. There's a new kind of change in laws around flexible working requests, which I just think is phenomenal. It's kind of based for women. I don't agree with that. I think it should be for everybody. But Mother Pucker and a few other people, if you follow them on Instagram, were kind of instrumental in that. She's just amazing. I don't have kids, I have cats, so but it's yes. So anyway, so it's that kind of stuff is really important. Again, that kind of comes back to some of the Gen Z hiring, but someone like myself, I'll be really open now. I'm 45, I have cats. But I actually moved back up north 2 years ago because my mum has osteoporosis, my dad has dementia. So for me, I need that flexibility to be able to take them to hospital appointments, that kind of thing, and have a life as well outside of just looking after cats. So, and then transparency kind of comes into that as well. Companies need to be really transparent about the hybrid thing, the work from home thing, what they offer, what they don't, the kind of support, but also then it comes to salaries. So in America, you have to advertise your salary information in most states. We hire remotely, so we always advertise our salaries out there. We're going to start doing it in India now, which is going to be really controversial. And then we will do it in the UK if we actually ever hire anyone in the UK. We're predominantly hiring in India and Brazil at the moment. But it's really important. I think it will come into law over here at some point. Who knows, with the kind of general election. Don't mention that. Yeah. But all of that, there's going to be a lot of changes, right, as well. It's a turbulent year as it is. So I think transparency and flexibility are massive trends that companies are going to have to get into. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to attract the right talent.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And it's actually going to move us, it's like we planned this, but we actually didn't, into one of the questions. It's a little bit further down, but it's actually around the current trend of companies starting to require staff to be fully office-based, because obviously we saw post-COVID that it was very much either remote or hybrid, but we are seeing more companies enforcing people to come into the office more. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's sustainable? Are you doing it as a panel? What's your thoughts?
We're 100% remote, bar our India office where we have shifts. We do have an office in Glasgow. We have an office in New York. We've got an office for 2 people and literally 2 people in Ireland. So if we recruit anyone else out there, they've got nowhere to sit. We are 100% remote. We've done that on purpose, not because we don't want to buy office space, because we want to hire the right talent wherever that is. We don't really care, so long as they're okay with it. But I'm seeing a backlash, which is really interesting. I was at 2 of our Christmas parties, clearly last year.
Backlash from employees?
Yeah,
okay.
Loads. And actually, I don't enjoy it. I'm 100% remote, and I talk to 2 cats all day. And so it's quite dull. And people are complaining that they're not spending enough time with their colleagues, that there's not enough collaboration, that they want to have the option of going to the office, but therein lies the problem. Because companies are going to get offices and they're going to dictate when you go in, right? So I don't think it's ever going to be solved, if I'm honest.
Andrew?
Yeah, so surprise to no one, I'm a bit of an extrovert. But like, if you'd have asked me this question 5 years ago, I'd have been like, honestly, remote working, it's a sham. Like, it is just a sham for people to play Xbox and stuff. But that's absolute, my opinion is completely changed now. I need to be in the office because I need that energy. I need to speak to people. I need to have a bit of, I don't know if this is politically correct, a bit of banter with a hiring manager, a sales director, my colleagues and my teams. That's how I'm going to get to know them. It's how I'm going to support someone if they're not being the best. I don't know that someone in my team isn't being their best version of themselves if they're in their lounge in Altrincham and I'm in Sale. I'm not going to know that unless I message them on Teams. So there's, for me, but I've also found this way of working that I do love working at home. Now I've made it work for me selfishly, and I'm not apologising that I enjoy taking my daughter to nursery. You know, I've got an understanding manager that gets that's really important to me. And me just being able to take Aria to nursery twice a week is going to make me perform better.
Yeah.
So what Kellanova, and I promise you we do have our downfalls at Kellanova. I'm not just Captain Crusade Kellanova, but they understand that, and they're really driving the balance of work from home because we know that works for you. But when you're in the office, make the office time work for you as well. So we're not just making you come in the office to tick a box and have data and say we've got 50% of our work. It's come in, collaborate, use the meeting room, use the time to go and get a coffee and have that physical interaction at the, you know, you can't beat a bit of banter at the coffee station for me. Yeah. You can't create that anywhere else than in the office. So yeah, like Gemma said, it's not going anywhere, but I think if your business and recruitment can play a huge part in influencing this, finding the right balance, I think will enable retention to stay. People get more comfortable going in the office and working at home.
Yeah. So essentially it's not really sustainable to get people to go back into the office. No. We have got quite a lot of questions, so I'm going to try and whiz through them. So you can rank these questions. A very important one. Who would win in a fight, Tony the Tiger or the Honey Monster? So if we could just cover that off really quickly so that we can move on.
Got to be Tony the Tiger, surely. Is that it for Tony the Tiger? There we go.
Helen, I'm perhaps going to come to you with this next question. So it's around, and actually it was a question that got brought up in a previous session as well. It's around candidates having interview questions in advance, and that's obviously a lot around neurodiversity and sort of social mobility, etc. Are you supportive of that? What's your opinion? What do you currently do, or what would you like to do?
I think it depends on the level that you're recruiting for. So you could have various, but I used to think that giving candidates as much information as possible was good until the ChatGPT thing came up. So I think there's got to be a happy medium. I think you've got to be able to give your candidates as much information as possible to allow them to be able to prepare well. If you give them the questions in advance, I do worry that you're not going to get that level playing field at all, because some people will use it and some people won't. So I think I was in a talk earlier on today where he talked about an honesty chart, and I really like that idea. So you've been very upfront with your candidates on your careers pages, on your advertisements, saying, look, we are going to be doing a human touch. We are going to be monitoring these applications. And we really want you to give your whole self. So we're not giving you interview questions. However, then you know our diverse people. Do you need adjustments? Do you need the questions in advance? So I think we would definitely, at the bank, we want to make sure that our candidates have the best opportunity to give the best of themselves. We don't give interview questions out front. Again, you've got hiring managers that would still go that old, it's cheating. There's an education piece that would go along with that before we went into that. I think you can still give your candidates enough information to prepare the overview of what the roles are going to be, offer them the opportunity to do face-to-face if they want, or video interview, whatever it makes that candidate bring their best selves. I'm not a big fan of giving the questions up front.
A bit more of a case by case.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyone else got any differing? Alex?
I think for me, when it comes to things like reasonable adjustments for candidates, and this has been a really interesting point that I've been chatting to some of my colleagues about, we need to remember that reasonable adjustments are about leveling the playing field. It's not about giving someone an advantage. What we're looking at here is how do you level that playing field so everyone has an equal opportunity? And I've really had to challenge myself with that when it comes to things like giving interview questions to candidates, because I used to be just completely averse to it and go, no, not doing it, leave it be, that's that. When actually, by looking at that support and how you work with candidates, it can be a really valuable tool. But like I said, I think just that mindset change to how do I level these playing fields rather than thinking you're giving someone an advantage.
Yeah, excellent. I'm going to move on to the next question. So we have got over 20, so I'm going to try and get through as many as possible. It's unlikely we'll get through all of them. But Laura has asked, and I'm sure you have all had this challenge, so when hiring managers are extremely time poor or perhaps not engaged with the recruitment process, just want to see a good CV, how do you get them to change their mindset, think a bit more about skills-based hiring and get their buy-in? I don't know if anyone's got any examples. I'm sure you've all got whether you can say them or not on camera?
Well, I think we've had it in the past where they want it's about control, isn't it? It's about trust. It's about being a true business partner to that area. So I think it takes time to engage with them and make sure that you are fully aware of what their requirements are, what they need for them to trust you, to be able to give the recruitment service that you're there to do. That's your job. That's your expertise. You show them that that's when your data comes in. You provide them with Horsefly. You talent map where it's going to be. You know what they're going to be charged in the workplace, in the marketplace, where these people are sat, that you're the best person to take that non-biased view and give them a fully competent candidate that's relevant to save time and resource. But it is about building those relationships throughout.
Yeah. Gemma?
It is about the relationships and the kind of quick wins as well. So if you've kind of proven that you can do it once, then you can kind of do it again. We use Team Taylor at Cintra, and prior to that we used Excel. So this is kind of really exciting for everybody. And actually, when you're creating a role on a Team Taylor, you can actually put in skills and traits and you can weight them. So we do that more than we kind of put job descriptions in nowadays, because I hate job descriptions. So if you can find the time with those managers at the beginning and talk to them about, well, how important is this skill? How important is this trait? Then actually, then when you do get to the part where they just want to see a good CV, you've already got the answers for them, and you can mark them as you're screening them on those skills and traits. So it is, I mean, it's use a system, right? But it is also get that buy-in, and at some point try and find the time so that they don't just want to see a good CV.
Just on the back of Helen's point, the buy-in piece is absolutely critical. And for me, when I first joined Kellanova a couple of years ago, I was amazed that they were struggling to fill some of their roles. I was like, you're struggling to fill a national account manager role for Kellogg's. Like, I've done agency recruitment and I've filled some pretty miserable roles. And I guess, like, what I took at, yeah, you can talk to them till they're blue in the face, but you're absolutely right, Helen, it's that control. I've been at this event today, I've been to many of them, and I meet great recruiters all the time. I'm sharing a stage with some today. And my approach was, just trust me. I'm going to put my neck on the line here. Just trust me with one role to go away from what you deviate is their everyday recruitment and what you're looking for. I'm not asking you to hire them. I'm just asking you to trust me that I'll put some CVs in front of you and then break it down a little bit. So when we get to the CV, all right, trust me, interview those two. And if you don't like them, then it's going to be on me, and I'm going to have to wear that hat for as long as I'm at Kellanova for. But it's taking it through the baby steps, because you can't just go from this to that in recruitment. There's too many sort of hoops to jump through. But if you just break it down, back yourself a little bit and say, trust me, I will get you the right people. It's amazing, actually, when you take that, sort of put your neck on the line, hiring managers will give you that trust to do it. And then from there, you've always got that feather in your cap.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to Helen's point, Richard in the audience did a great presentation last year for anyone that did see it around actually how to get that buy-in and that stakeholder engagement as well. So we've still got the video that I can sort of push out to everyone, Richard. So if you do want that, we're more than happy to share it. Excellent. We're going to move on. So there's a couple of questions just around advertising salary. So I'm going to put those in to the same sort of similar questions. So why aren't more companies advertising salary ranges? And what is your stance on advertising those? Gemma, I know you mentioned that you think it's going to come up and actually become a legal requirement. So do you currently advertise? Well, you don't currently, do you? But you've already answered that question.
Well, we do in America, because we have to, but they weren't before I joined, so we were probably breaking the law there. We are going to start that in India. Now, that is controversial because it's not something that I think is even going to become law out there. But we have salary bands, so everyone that joins us as a system support engineer gets exactly the same salary. So it's quite easy for us in that respect. I think there's so many reasons why people don't advertise them. I know when I was at Micro Focus, I can say that because they don't exist anymore, is they wouldn't advertise salaries because they knew that people that had been working for the company for a long period of time would be like, hang on a minute, that guy's doing the same job as me and he's earning 50, 60 grand more or whatever it was. I think a lot of companies are worried about that, about their existing employees that haven't got kind of market rate salary increases, which, let's be honest, is kind of fairly standard. I think you've also got that kind of concern that people are going to see the range and then they're going to go in at the top number. good for them. And then you've also got, well, are we going to kind of price people out, right? So we're advertising it at 40 to 60K and someone wants 70, they're not going to apply. So are we missing out on talent because we've got to kind of be prescriptive? So I think there's so many different reasons. We will do it when we're hiring in the UK because I've told the company that we're going to do it. I'm really lucky. I report into our CEO, so I have that seat at the table, which is really rare in recruitment. You normally go up through HR. So I have a lot of I can speak up and say what we're going to do and why we're going to do it, and they're really, really supportive. But I think a lot of companies are going to really struggle with that.
I think starting out as a smaller organisation, it's easier to start building it into it, whereas somewhere like HMRC and Alex, I'm assuming that you don't advertise, or do you?
Yeah, so we advertise salaries,
Okay.
and I think for those that work in larger organisations, we have bandings that we don't move from, and actually everyone comes in at the entry point of the salary. I think one thing that we've started to look at, and I think to your point of the people wanting a larger salary, we're having to now challenge our vacancy holder more around their skills and their expectations of those individuals that are going to be joining. So we have to pay £50,000 for that job because that's where the banding is. For £50,000, you are going to get this experience, these skills. That's what you're going to get. You're not going to get what you got 5, 10, 15 years ago, whenever it was. So, and I think it comes on to the earlier point about the hiring managers. Everyone in this room here is learning, you're wanting to do more, you are good recruiters, this is you putting into yourself. Do not be afraid to say no. And I think my team will play advocate to this. I will stop vacancies going out. I will stop things happening because vacancy holders won't work in the right way or in the same way that we need to, or they're not going to get what they want to because we're not wasting our time doing it. So don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah, excellent.
I think the specialist team, especially at the bank, they would build that into their briefing with the hiring manager that says, if you do not advertise these salaries, you're going to get X or Y, or we know that we're not going to get the level of experience like Alex said before. So we do some work in the background with reward to try and bump up those salaries to, if it's a mass area that those salaries of the internal candidates have not been looked at for a number of years, then that manager, that's up to them to write a business case to get those people up, their salaries uplifted. Otherwise, you're never going to attract the right person. So we do advertise salaries now in most roles, but we lead it all with data. We already go to those hiring manager briefings to say you are not going to get. That's not the right bracket.
Robin from Appcast did a presentation earlier, so we've recorded all the sessions, you can get access to it, and he had quite a lot of stats and data around the uptake in advertising salaries, but not just salaries, and something that you guys mentioned earlier was actually all the different benefits as well. So feel free to reach out to Robin, or we can send it on to you on that side. So excellent, thank you very much. And we've got a bit more of like an employer branding and attraction sort of strategies section now. So from Anonymous, question for Alex, what attraction strategies do you use to counter HMRC's public image? This is something we struggle with at times. They work for the police, so cue the boos, but we're not going to boo the police for anyone. So
let's be honest on this. The HMRC, as a brand, we are known for taking people's money. And that's how people see it. What you don't see, and I don't think what people usually feel, that money's paying for the NHS. It's paying for the police. It's paying for all those public services that you do use. And I know you might feel that month by month and go, oh, they're just taking my money. But actually for us, what we've had to do is really look at, from a brand perspective and with our employee value proposition, actually what does that mean? People are proud in our organisation to work and provide a public service. We really want to make sure that service is good, even when it falls down at times. Again, there's no escaping from that. We've just been in the press for not answering customer service lines and waiting for 23 minutes. But actually, the size and scale of the organisation, it's a real education piece for us. If you think about, IT roles as an example, no one would think I'd want to go and work for HMRC to work in IT. We have the biggest IT stack in Europe. Our cyber security teams, as you can probably imagine, have to be pretty damn good because of the data that we have. We have everyone's information in this room. So, we're
Slightly
having
creepy
to
there,
hire.
Alex.
It is. I've got all of it. Be careful. So I think from a brand perspective, what we're really trying to do is challenge that mindset and perspective. One of the campaigns that we've looked to run is around not the tax man you're expecting. People think HMRC, old white man, bowler hat, this is what we do. It's not like that as an organisation. And it's really getting people to see and feel what we are like as people.
Yeah. So thinking outside the box and just trying to get into the depths of the employer brand on that side.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Excellent. Gemma, sort of following the theme of attracting sort of quality, obviously from a smaller organisation's perspective, you're going to be competing with some big competitors that obviously know brands, etc. How do you attract, and what are some of the sort of strategies and methodologies of attracting quality talent into a smaller organisation?
It's really hard because we compete with AWS, Google, Azure, Oracle. We don't really compete with Oracle, but AWS we definitely do, but they're also our biggest partner. So it's really, really tough. No one's heard of Cintra, I can guarantee, in this entire building, and I certainly hadn't. A lot of it is networking, is referrals, is that kind of thing. It's actually using our competitors to kind of leverage them to go and talk to people, right? So we'll go to AWS events and we'll talk to loads of people. We're hiring someone at the moment that we met a couple of weeks ago in a pub in London. So it's almost stealth branding, I think, is how we look at it. I've got no budget. We don't do a huge amount of kind of marketing. They don't want us putting any kind of product information or services information out on LinkedIn. So it's a massive mission for this year to start doing a lot more. But at the moment, we're kind of stealth.
Yeah,
I think.
Okay. And Andrew and Helen, there's another one around sort of job boards seem to be getting worse in quality. So what's the alternative for finding quality candidates? Like, where do you advertise, for example, or are you stealth sneaking into competitor events?
It is tough, and I do agree. I don't think job boards are the best place to be. I was in a session before, the DPD one, which I found really interesting, how they've been creative with their advertising. We're going through, as I say, a bit of an identity crisis at the moment. Not many people are still connecting the Kellanova Kellogg dot. So a lot of our recruitment is the team, myself, we are being proactive, but we still do have to put things out there. So we've got a global branding, marketing team where we've tried to, I don't know how to describe it, but just try and reinvent the way that you get your brand across. We are now a snack-led business. Cereal, when we were Kellogg's, it was nice, it was soft, it was Tony the Tiger and his cornflakes. Now we're a snacking-led powerhouse, but we're behind PepsiCo, Coca-Cola. We got to do something out of the box. So what we've done is we're looking at our adverts in terms of how are we writing them? Are they inclusive? And where are we putting them? Are we doing media snapshots? We're doing different LinkedIn posts instead of the generic. We're hiring with the foghorn. We've tried to do some imagery, and we've used people from Kellogg's or Kellanova. I will get there one day, I promise. And I guess it is just thinking outside the box. There's millions and millions of tools out there. Social media, as we all know, is amazing. It's just about, for me, and from what we're going through at the moment, is where are we advertising to get the right people? And LinkedIn and all that, but then also just think, what other can we do? An employee proposition, people within Kellanova writing testimonials, all these things are really, really impactful because it makes people think, can I immerse myself in their business? I get what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think as well, just to build on that, it is about telling stories from your people. I think the amount of contact we need to have with people on an ongoing basis without just going, do you want a job? We've moved away from that. How do you build that brand? How do you build that reputation? And that constant conversation. I think the golden point, in recruitment is people are just coming to you going, I want to work for you. And how do you get that to that point rather than it to be us going out all the time going, oh, do you want a job? Turning that round to get people going. I'm excited about you. I'm excited about your brand. I know your people. I know what they're like. I know what it's like to work for you. I want to be there.
we've used a lot of career stories, and obviously we've had a huge task to get women into finance, and we've had that for a number of years. So we use a lot of our current workforce to tell those stories, to advertise. In the volume space, we've had to look at things differently, as in Facebook, social media. I have been trying to get the bank on TikTok for a long time. I might do one today, actually, if you're all with me, and so it's about finding where our people are and speaking and networking to the people here. I was very surprised that an RBP from the NHS was on TikTok, and that's where she gets a lot of her people from. And I was like, so it is always about networking with your peers, looking where those people are, using your people and your brand. And I think personally what I did a couple of years ago was, when we had no budget, I went to our marketing team. They were doing a lot of promotion to the consumer brand. So what I did was I just piggybacked on the back of everything that the consumer brand was doing, asked them to do me a little slide at the end that said, come join us. So I just made sure I integrated myself into that marketing team. So I knew when every poster was going up in every branch that it'd have a recruitment slant on it. When every piece of collateral or content was done, I could use it for recruitment. And I found that worked really well, not only for fostering those relationships, but to keep our consumer brand on track with our employer brand, which we never really had before. So that's worked really well for me.
Excellent. I've got 2 questions that I want to get through, but we've only got a couple of minutes, so I'm just going to ask one question to each of you. So with employers using AI more, as well as sort of mitigating for those with neurodiverse traits or disabilities, where do you stand with things like automated video interviews, or what are you doing in the sort of neurodiversity or diversity space? Happy to pose that to anyone who's best to answer.
I mean, I will answer. We do video interviews for our volume hires. We still do face-to-face, virtual interviews it's very difficult. Neurodiversity is something that we know we need to engage more with and level the playing field, because at the moment, our volume AI is a situational test. It's testing their cognitive ability. And if people do not want to do a timed process because it's not viable for them, only if they tell us are we then making adjustments. I worry that we're missing out on a huge talent pool of people that could bring different skills, rather than just hiring the same skill that we're doing all the time is what we're testing for this one size fits all. So there's a lot of work to do for me and my teams in that space. Yeah.
Excellent. So the final question that I'm going to ask all of you, actually, and it was, I think, one of the first questions we actually had to come up. So it was from Adam. It was, if you had a magic wand, what's the one thing that you'd like to change about the talent industry? Andrew, I'm going to go with you first.
I'll be really quick. It would be and these guys over here might not like it, to break the stigma of AI. I think as the AI dial right now, it's far too heavy AI driven. And what companies are trying to do to recruiters is make us become lazy. And I've got, and I'm sure we all have, number of stories where it's a personal touch as recruited. So an AI machine, it's great AI, by the way, I'm not a dinosaur, but it's also no way got me to be in a position that I can offer candidates situations where something's changed in their life and I've still worked with them to get it across the line. So my magic wand, and maybe even my plea, is to use AI, but let's not get rid of the human touch. Let's get the dial bang in the centre.
Excellent.
There we go, that's my crusade. I knew I'd get it in there at some point.
Who wants to go next? Go on, Alex.
I think that's a really hard one to follow, to be fair.
Yeah, we maybe should have ended on that one, shouldn't we?
Yeah, it's just come to me now. And to be fair, it is a great point in that there is so many tools, there's so many things out there, not just the AI stuff, different job boards, different things you can use. Don't forget how skilled you are. And I think if it's one thing that I say change, it's like bring back some old school recruitment. Like, actually get out there, talk to people, be with people, understand them, get to know them. I think it's massively important. And, we've put a process in place where you can go end to end to get a job without talking to anyone. And I was wrong in doing that. And we're now looking at how we go back and change that as a process to make sure we add that human element back in. Yeah. And I think it is massively important. I think you're right. It's probably the one thing I'd change at the minute.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with that. I would like AI to do all the thousands of hours that the teams have to spend on Excel and admin.
The really rubbish jobs.
The really rubbish jobs. I would like an AI tool that would, replace all that to allow the team to continue to add value, which is what they're all recruiters and TA teams are massive value adds to any company that they're in, and they get bogged down for hours and hours with doing those tasks. That would be my wish.
Gemma, the final comment now.
God.
All the pressure's on you.
Well, there's two things, actually. We're here and talking about innovation today, but I genuinely don't think anything's really changed in recruitment that much. AI, video interviewing, all of that. But I tell you, I used to go to these conferences years ago, and we were talking about video interviewing then. So there's a part of me that's like, someone please bring me something truly game-changing. But the main one for me, if I did have a magic wand, is that all of us would have that seat at the table, because we know more about most companies that we work for than anyone else. But we also know what's going on in the markets, and people should listen to us a lot more.
Amazing. We are a couple of minutes over time, so if you've got other sessions to go on to, I do apologise for overrunning. But what a absolutely brilliant panel discussion. Thank you so much to all of you.